I feel like I was like so focused on school and getting good grades and like being in the top 10 of my class.
Are you Asian?
Maybe a little bit. That like all the other stuff wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
Like
I think
I put so much pressure on myself to like do well and get good grades and get into college that like having a social life wasn't a thing.
Did you put that pressure on yourself, or did your mom kind of
So my
you?
mom has told me this and I didn't know this, and that once she started seeing me putting so much pressure on myself because I wanted A's because I thought that's what she wanted me to be, she stopped pushing. And then I just kept doing it myself.
That's awesome.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite. My parents drilled it into my sister in my life that you need to get good grades.
Well, and she did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? But when she saw that like I was too afraid to come home and tell her I got a C on a test, even though I tried really hard, she was like, oh, maybe I'm being a little bit too much. You know, like, because there was no reason to like be afraid to show you a C on a test when I studied and I did my best. Yeah. Right? Like, it's different when you're just like screwing around.
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, then she was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know that until like college, that she was like, yeah, Molly, I didn't do that to you. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that. I thought I was still gonna be disappointing her if I wasn't doing well, when in reality I was just disappointing myself.
Yeah. All right. Bam, 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 bam.
Welcome to the 75th annual Hunger Games.
The Quarter Quell. That's going to be our intro from now on, guys.
At least I did it better this time.
I
almost stuttered because I had to like really think hard of how it went. It was kind of like a no May November. Like,
oh, yeah. We have to share that story about No May November.
Okay.
Welcome, guys. This is the Unscripted Conversations podcast. My name is Jay.
And I'm Molly.
And welcome back. Glad to have you guys back on the podcast. And today's going to be a special episode because this weekend is Mother's Day. And this is Molly's first true Mother's Day.
That's true.
And this is awesome. Happy Mother's Day, babe.
Thanks.
You know, it's like when we started courting each other, one of the things that I realized about Molly was that I knew from just her personality that she was going to be a really good mom. And the last 10 months with Conrad has really proven, and actually before too, the way she took care of her body, knowing that she was growing our son in her belly, like she took care of her body, she took care of her mentals. I was really proud of her in the moments leading up to his birth, and then ever since, she's been an amazing mom. So happy Mother's Day, babe.
Why are you making me cry today? Thanks,
well,
babe.
I think it goes without saying that motherhood was meant for you.
Aw,
or you were meant for motherhood. What is that?
I think you were meant
for motherhood. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So this week we're going to be shouting out our moms because they are special people in our lives, and without them, we probably wouldn't be here. Along with our dads, but we got a month until we can shout out them. But this weekend...
But I mean, like, really, we wouldn't be here without our moms. They kind of did a lot.
A lot.
Not saying that dads didn't, but like...
A lot.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
We do the important stuff for 9 months.
Yeah.
Dad just do like the important stuff for a couple minutes.
Couple minutes. Yeah. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You know, that's an episode that actually people want to hear is a sexy episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Who said?
Just people.
People who?
Like friends, patients.
Shut up.
Well, they said like you guys touch it like in some past episodes. So
all right,
we might just have a sexy episode.
All right.
Might be a little explicit. I might have to put like a warning discretion on YouTube. Because it might be just a little. Maybe we just need to just kind of tone it down a little bit.
I think we can do that.
We just do
I think
like
we can do it in a...
We can do rated R. Just not NC-17. I think we can,
but I think we can like also do it like a PG-13, you know, like...
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, why hide your sexuality, right? Or your sex life? Like, why hide it? It's healthy to have a good sex life.
That's right. I was supposed to do some research on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my homework for the week.
Yeah. Let's do that. All right. Well, yeah. So this is the start of the Mother's Day weekend. So reach out to your mothers and tell them you love them and how grateful you are to have them in your life. So, but anyways, let's get this going. Let's start off with a bold perception. Meow, 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 meow. Okay. If people came with a warning label, what would yours say?
I think we already did this one.
Did we?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I
Not
think
on the
so.
podcast.
I think we did.
Okay, well, let's do it again.
What would
if
mine
people
be?
came with a warning label, what would yours say?
Hot when red.
That's good. That's a good one.
Because my face always turns red
When you're mad.
when I'm mad or embarrassed or
Frustrated.
nervous.
Yeah. Okay. What would mine be?
What would yours be?
Yeah, what would you say mine would be?
Ooh. Hold on, let me think a little bit. Do you have one for yourself?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I would say, and this is not diminishing the mental problems that people do have with this, but I think my warning label would be borderline OCD.
That's what I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of something like caution when busy almost, because when your brain is going a million miles an hour, you just like we've talked about this, I just let you do what you need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't know how to word that.
Yeah, like work in progress or something.
Yeah.
Or do not disturb. Do not disturb
Yes.
when working.
Yes.
That would be a title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For yours, that I would say,
Yeah.
I would probably say quintessential redhead.
What the hell does that mean?
Meaning you're just you epitomize what a redhead is. But in a good way. In a good way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's
I
not.
know what that means.
Hey,
fiery,
well, you
attitude,
are fiery. You are fiery,
rawr.
but it's not a bad thing. In some instances, it's you got a backbone. You're fiery. You can stand up for your own self.
That's fair.
As opposed to somebody who doesn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
Quintessential
funny.
redhead.
That's funny.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, you know what? These cards, even though sometimes they're just totally random, I think it's just good to have these random thoughts, because it's okay, how is your partner thinking of this question, and you can kind of analyze it that way. I think it's kind of fun.
That's true.
But
That's funny.
all right, so this week, we had a suggestion from a friend of mine.
Oh shit! Sorry, shoot.
That's okay. We curse on this podcast.
I just yawned, and I remembered somebody
Yeah.
saying that I
Yep,
yawned too
there
much
it
on
is.
this podcast.
And there
And I
it
did so
is.
well the last time, and I didn't yawn at all when we
Yeah.
did this at night.
There it goes.
Dang
All right.
it.
So we had this one friend of ours make a suggestion on what we should talk about, and one of them is old childhood relationships and how they've molded our present selves. And that can be any kind of relationship, obviously friends, family. Realizing how relationships with family helps to help others understand who you are. So basically just kind of touching on how does one's background help others understand who you are today, and and what you do in your life, and kind of explains all that.
Yeah, I definitely think just our past shapes us who we are, and it's not always our experiences or good or bad things we've been through, but just the people we've been around too.
Yeah. Do you feel that because people live, or like they call nature versus nurture, right? Now we're talking about the both nature and nurture in this whole instance. What kind of upbringing you had, maybe the neighborhood you grew up in, maybe the financial status of your family. Do you feel that people who are, I guess this is going to get really touchy. Do you feel like the people who are born in poverty have a lot more, I guess, experience than those who maybe were born with a silver spoon?
different experience.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the podcasts we listen to, like Dak Shepard, I mean, you can see that Paris Hilton, who was just on his episode, I think people would think she was, served a silver spoon to put it plainly. And she had a rough childhood.
Rough.
And probably rougher than most poor people, whatever you want to classify that as,
Yeah.
Are these, families that, the kids had to start working at a young age to help support the family. I mean, I think everyone's experiences are different. I don't think you could classify it like that.
Yeah, I agree. And the reason why I kind of posed that question that way is because you can't classify somebody who, let's say, was born in the ghetto, suffered more than, let's say, somebody who was born in the suburbs in a nice house, because those different, like, though on the outside it looks way different,
right?
And you can make those judgments, you really can't.
No.
Because every situation is so different.
Well, and I think we would say that, maybe people looking into our lives would have seen that we were not the wealthiest families growing up, but like us being on the inside, we would have never known that until we have reflected back on it as adults. Knowing like, us eating ramen was actually us just, that's what we could afford, but really we just thought that was normal, or, we thought that was a privilege, because ramen was great, or whatever,
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the same thing as you're saying, like that family growing up, in the poor ghetto or, the poor side of town, those kids could think they have the best life ever. But looking into it, we're thinking, oh, that poor family,
Outside looking in.
Yes. But, going down the street in our neighborhood, that's, a little bit more well off looking, we can say, oh, wow, our neighborhood's really well off, but you don't know what's going behind closed doors.
Oh, absolutely.
That could be a, family who gets abused every night or, whatever.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be a, positive thing or a good upbringing or whatever.
For sure.
Whatever we're talking about right now.
Yeah. No, I also feel that like there's some people who, they're quick to judge.
Oh gosh, I think we all are. I think we've done that.
And I feel that there's some thought that goes into someone's mind to like actively think that.
Yeah.
And because it's maybe because they reflect on their own personal experiences,
Oh yeah.
And I would say, I don't remember my family being on food stamps. Like, I don't think we ever, like, we didn't have like an EBT card or anything like that growing up. Mm-hmm. Not that I remember, at least. Right. But, kind of tying it into what the theme of today's podcast is like our parents, at least my parents, never made us feel poor.
No.
Like when it came to Christmas, when it came to like food, when we went grocery shopping, I mean, everything within reason. Like we weren't just able to grab whatever we wanted at the grocery store.
But I also think that's respect too.
Yeah.
Like that was more of a respect. It wasn't, I'm just going to go up and down the aisles and grab something. We also respected our parents in the sense of we were going to ask. And if they said no, it wasn't a big deal. Or not this time. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So like it was different in that sense.
Yeah. And I think, in the era that we grew up in is so much different than it is now.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I mean, even the simplest things like ramen, like ramen was cheap when I'm assuming was cheap when we were little, probably even cheaper now. But the variety of foods that we had back when we were growing up is minuscule.
Oh God, yeah.
Could you
imagine what a
now.
Woodman's would be like?
Oh my gosh,
back when we were growing up.
It'd be dream.
But it wouldn't be so big because there wasn't so much variety.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
Now you can. God, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, growing up, who did you admire the most as far as like a role model?
Ooh, I'm gonna spin that around on you because I feel like you have more people that have been influential that you see as influential in your life, and I feel like you'll be able to like answer that better.
I think it's, that saying that like you need a village to raise
Absolutely.
a kid. I think in my family, that's how it was. It wasn't just one person because everybody collectively did a part or had a role in my upbringing.
Yeah.
That I can't just say this one person was the reason I am who I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could say it could be literally everybody.
Yeah.
Quickly, I guess my dad, he was the patriarch of the family. He made the money. He worked hard. He provided the roof over our heads. Financially, he was there. He was the guy who, paid the bills, gave us that hard loving. He's tough skinned, but he did it with purpose because he wanted us to grow up and, have good lives, and he gave us a good life.
Yeah.
My mom was a nurturer, like she showed us what love was. She raised us and she taught us how to be tender, how to be kind, because that's how she portrayed, her life.
Yeah.
Was. And she was very selfless too, anything that we needed. I remember one quick story. I had a school project and I had to draw basically a cartoon sequence, and I needed to draw a butterfly inside this comic book box, in a comic strip. I had to draw a butterfly on a branch or something like that. And my mom she's not an artist.
Yeah.
But I was arguing with her. I was like, that's not how a butterfly looks like. But in my mind, as I kind of remember, I wanted it to look 3D,
oh, sure.
not just like a flat butterfly, but 3D, but I didn't know how to draw it.
Yeah.
My mom was, and it was painstaking because I remember it was at night. We're at the kitchen table, the dining room table, and she was drawing and erasing. I was just yelling at her. And then now it kind of breaks my heart, just thinking about that, because I wanted something so bad to look like a certain way, and my mom was trying so hard and was failing, and I can't even imagine what she was going through. And it just breaks my heart now, as a 35-year-old thinking about that. I was such a mean
jerk.
kid. All because I wanted a fucking
freaking butterfly.
Freaking butterfly on my comic strip. But she did her best, And that's all sometimes some parents can do is just do their best. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know if I ever finished the project. I think I did.
I'm sure you did.
But I remember the paper was so thin because she was erasing. And I'm looking back, it literally breaks my heart right now. My heart just kind of broken. But that's what she did, And, grandparents, unfortunately, like I said, my grandpa passed away, but he was the one who taught us all the tips and tricks and MacGyvered everything, just like my dad. My dad MacGyvers everything. He was our barber. He was our dentist. He was a farmer. He was a animal chicken specialist. He was a butcher. He was everything, literally. He was a musician. So it was all those things. Jack of all trades, and he was good at every single thing. And you got my grandma, who was a sewer. I remember days when my cousins and I would be playing and we'd be Rascal or something, and she would just freaking yell at us. But it was because we were being rascals, but I just remember that of my grandma.
Yeah.
Aunts, uncles, cousins, they all played a part in, my upbringing. So I can't really pinpoint one person who was just that core, because it was a whole village that raised me.
Yeah.
And I spin it back to you. I met some of your family. I met your uncle and your aunts, both of them. I met extended uncles and aunts, your cousins too. If I were to say and just maybe propose to you on who you might be, I would probably say it was your mom, because you and your mom are.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of spinned it back on you, is because I don't have, listening to you describe your family and stuff, I guess, not I guess, but definitely my grandparents had a huge factor in raising me, because when I was born, we lived above my grandparents. So kind of like you, with in the same vicinity. But my grandparents had they lived on the bottom floor, and then above them they had 2 apartments. So my mom lived up there. So like when I was born, I was right there. And my mom always tells a story about how she gave birth to me, and then my grandparents had a cottage up north, and like right after she gave birth, they were left and went up north and like left her be.
Really?
And like I really wonder like what that timing really was. It probably felt that way, same
Yeah,
like me, where I have like my stories that I remember, and my mom's like, yeah, Molly, that's not how it went, but you remember it a certain way. But so my grandparents were always there, and I think it's hard for me to know how much they really influenced my life because they were gone so soon.
Yeah.
My grandpa passed away when I was 12, and I remember just how much that broke my heart because I was going to graduate from 8th grade, and at the 8th grade dance, there was always a mother-son dance and a father-daughter dance, and I knew I was never going to have a true father-daughter dance, and we can get into that too. So I just remember like that broke me. And then, I remember my grandpa just being such a strong role model from a father figure standpoint, and just such a, just a strong, he was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a good person. And he used to, and I found this out later, like I used to go to daycare, and I was half days for like kindergarten, at that point. So I go to daycare in the morning, my mom would drop me off, and then daycare would take me to kindergarten for the, later half of the day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
My grandpa, instead of coming and picking me up at daycare and taking me to kindergarten, he would let me go on the little van thing, but he would go and hide behind trees at my grade school and make sure I got off the bus okay, or like the little van thingy. And he used to laugh at me because I used to throw down my backpack and then jump out of the van. Like,
that's awesome.
Yes. But, this old man, like, hiding behind a tree, watching for his granddad, that's not creepy or anything.
Yeah. That's endearing, though. I mean, it's
yes.
like, and I think that's what you remember, like,
yes.
Even though you probably didn't see grandpa sitting behind a tree, you heard the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just makes you feel like, oh, like grandpa was like watching out for me.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then my grandma, I mean, like, thankfully she lasted much longer. I lost her when I was 23, so I had her a lot longer, which was great. And we used to spend so much time together too. I mean, she taught me how to sew or cross stitch, and we used to do puzzles together and play rummy, and God, we used to do so much stuff.
Yeah.
And, just crafty things. And she was like a second mom, like a grandma is, right?
Yeah.
Like just that other mother figure. And yeah, so that for them, absolutely. So I guess to back up a little bit, like most people probably listening don't know this about me, except maybe some of our friends and stuff, but my dad died before I was born. And so it's always just been me and my mom. So like when I look back at like my childhood or just growing up, I had friends and stuff, but I don't know how you compare that to a mom who gave up her whole life to raise you and really see anybody else as influential. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's been, people who have come and gone, and, people who have probably, shaped me a little bit into who I am, and because they taught me lessons and things. But overall, like, it was my mom. She taught me how to be an independent woman, because that's all we could do, right? I mean, we have our own house, eventually we moved out of my grandparents' house, or, living up above them, and we lived in an apartment, but then she bought her own house, and we never called people for help until we truly couldn't do it anymore, so like we always tried to change the light switches, or, obviously we changed our own light bulbs, but, my mom had, really bad water problems in her basement, and she handled that like a champ, and at least from my eyes. I mean, she probably was like, Molly, I didn't handle that good at all, but like she never showed me weakness and stuff. So that's why I feel like I'm such a strong person. And, she's just taught me to, like I said, be independent, but, just taught me to be a good person too. We just always, the lessons, like, I remember being in grade school and I was on the A basketball team, and my best friend at the time was on the B basketball team, and we wanted to practice our plays that we learned at practice during recess. But my friend wanted to play with me. Well, she didn't know the plays, so she can't play with me today, you know? Mom's like, how would you feel if someone did that to you? And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, I didn't think of it that way, you know? So just those lessons, those life lessons all the time of like remembering how other people feel.
Yeah. Do you feel that because you didn't have a dad growing up that you were longing for that like father figure, or did your grandpa step in and kind of make it seem like less and like less, I guess, burdensome that you didn't
I think
have?
because I never had a dad, I didn't know what a dad was supposed to be.
Okay.
So my grandpa was just my grandpa. But I remember, and I wanted to look up this movie. What's the movie with Amanda Bynes? And she went to London because her dad was in London. You probably don't know this. Someone knows this. And I remember going and seeing this movie. And the big thing about it was that her mom like left with her being pregnant, went back to America. Her dad's like this like duke or something in, you know, London. And she goes to find him. He didn't know that she was alive or even a thing. And her biggest thing was like her mom used to sing at weddings and always saw the father-daughter dance, and that always like hurt her because she never was going to have that because she didn't have a dad, or her dad didn't know who she was, right? And I remember watching that movie, and I remember being so sad. And then I was at this sleepover and I was so sad all night because none of my friends would understand that. They all had fathers, you know, so it's not like something I could have like talked about. And at that time I didn't know how my dad died, so I didn't really know, you know, the whole thing. And again, what I was missing because I didn't have that. But when my grandpa died and I didn't ever get that with him, that, like I said, like destroyed me. Like and that was also a time when I found out how my dad died. And so it was a very hard time for me. But I think that's just what I miss, is having that, what I see other people have in a father. Yeah. And I never got that. Yeah. And so when my grandpa died, I didn't have that anymore. And I have uncles, and I have my uncle who just passed away about a year ago now. He came and went. From a father figure standpoint, he had his own priorities, which is okay. Yeah. You know, he had his own family, and I think I put too much pressure on those people in my life because I wanted it to be something more than it was, and it wasn't their responsibility either. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. I feel like, you know, looking back at when I first met your family, like Uncle Mike, I think to me, because I never met your grandpa. Right. But to me, Uncle Mike was like that father figure to you because of the way he kind of like made sure he took care of you and Absolutely. Everything. Yes. And it was interesting that like when it was after the fact, like when I first met him, and then I don't know if it was you or your mom said like Uncle Mike was like, okay, he's a good one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, like, that's good. You know, it's like it's almost like I got his approval, almost like like getting the approval of a father to date their daughter, basically, you know? So I think, you know, like going back to it takes a village to raise a kid, because I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, because your mom, and it was just you and your mom, your uncle, Mike, grandpa kind of stepped in to be that pseudo father figure to you, or at least kind of help support your mom in raising you. My grandpa, yes, and nothing against my Uncle Mike or anything, but he had his own family. Yeah. You know, so was he always there if we needed him? Absolutely. But was he there outside of that? Yes, but it wasn't like he was checking in. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Like it was more us going to him, or like us seeing him it wasn't always the other way around.
Okay.
Which is fine. That's just how that relationship was, you know?
Well, and he, like you said, he had his own
Right.
family and he has a lot of grandkids that he had
Right.
to kind of
Right.
manage as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think me and my mom talk about this a lot. People didn't realize how we struggled, and kind of going back to our beginning of this story, looking in, you would have thought we were the perfect pair. You would have thought, what do they have to be sad about? What do they have to be struggling with? Because I never, what is this phrase? Something like I never wanted, I always had. Like my mom, like whatever I wanted, I got pretty much. So why should I struggle with not having a father? I always got what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know? And my mom, yeah, your husband died, but you have a beautiful daughter and you're providing well for her. Like, what do you have to be sad about? And people saw that, but we struggled. My mom wasn't, my mom was living paycheck to paycheck for the longest time because she was a one-person income. And at that time, I like to kind of say it wasn't cool to be a single parent. Now it's like,
it's like almost just, like normal.
It's normal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
sure.
At that time it was, you were looked down upon when you came in and you said you didn't have a husband.
Yeah.
And she went through that. And she, I don't know if she ever, struggled with that at all, or if she ever felt that stigmatism, I guess. But I'm sure she did. I should ask her.
Yeah.
And so my family, I think, often forgot about us, and not in a mean way.
Because you guys portrayed that
we
you
were
guys
fine.
were okay. Yeah, for sure.
But we needed them.
Yeah.
And when we needed them, we asked, but we also just did fine by ourselves. Because we had to.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why my mom's my role model, is because, God forbid anything happens to you, I'd be fine because I had her as an example.
Yeah. I think that there's always, that history that people have that kind of pulls them through whatever they go through, in the future,
Right.
like in experiences. And you kind of look back at your childhood and you're like, oh yeah, like this is what I was groomed to experience this because of what I did, when I was growing up. So I totally understand that. And I think that's the kind of person that you are right now, like strong and independent and knows what needs to be done and how you want to go about your life, because your mom had a plan
Right.
of how she needed to raise, you by herself. And that's just kind of what exuded from her, from your upbringing and how she displayed a parent.
Right.
And that's how you are today. Did you have any like friends that you kind of like look back on and you're just like, oh yeah, like that's kind of how I like value friendships now?
Yeah, I was trying to think about that. I feel like I focused so much on my mom that like I didn't really focus on friendships as much, Like, yeah, I had a really good friend growing up. We went to grade school and high school together, and then we kind of parted ways for college. We went to 2 different colleges, and I have like a handful of friends from college that that I could say like, okay, yeah, I spent a lot of time with them, like that's probably why I'm a little bit who I am today and stuff. But I can't really pick out like one person or one instance. I think for me, and probably because how my mom raised me, I never was there to impress anybody. So like when you're in high school, you're always like trying to impress the friends and always trying to impress people. And I, yes, I wanted to impress people, but I wasn't going to do something I was uncomfortable with or that wasn't me just to get the popular person to like me.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of instances in high school looking back that's what my friends were doing to get friends, and I just didn't need that.
Yeah.
And, do I look back and I was like, maybe I wish I kind of did this a little bit differently so that I still had like good friends from high school? I mean, yes, hindsight is 20/20.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like college, like I joined a sorority for a little bit, and then I was like, yeah, I don't really want to pay to have friends because I was kind of doing my own thing outside of the sorority.
Yeah.
But then like looking back, I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish I wasn't a resident assistant and I like went and lived on the floor because I know those people would still be my good friends.
Yeah.
Because they were my first year, and then we just weren't living together anymore. So, you know, sometimes it just makes it harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you know, like friends to me actually is like an extension of my family.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fortunate enough to still have, you know, to be really close to some of my high school friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice that for a few of them, you know, I haven't talked to them or seen them in years, but the moment we get back together again, it's like we never left.
I know, I love seeing that.
And you know, the core, it's crazy because each stage of my life when it comes to like high school, elementary school, and like grade school, like I moved from Hawaii to Vegas, so I didn't really have those friends, and then started gaining new friends in Las Vegas. So then that middle school, high school friend core, and then I got, you know, somewhat college, not really college because I was so focused on working and then also like moving on to the next step for professional school. So I didn't really have like friends outside of just work. And then of course dental school, you know, so I have these like this 2 decades of my life that are separated from just, you know, undergrad, where this group of friends from high school, like I'm still like close with, and I have that bond and those memories from, and then I have a core of like friends from dental school. And when I say like core of friends, it's really a core, but I was such a social butterfly in dental school that like my whole class and classes above me, classes below me kind of were all my friends, you know, maybe acquaintances more so. But yeah, when I look back at like my core friends in high school, it's weird, as I was kind of thinking about this podcast and this topic, it's weird that the core friends that I had in high school and the core friends I have in dental school is almost identical.
Yes.
And just the way that we interact, the way we are, like it mirrors each other. It's kind of weird.
Well, and I think that kind of just shows the type of people you gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And it's towards people who are selfless, who put others before themselves, who, you know, just think of others. And, you know, and I can see that from just meeting them and starting to get to know who they are.
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, it's so crazy too, because when I look back at like David and Charlie, Ernest, Tyler, like that was our core. More so like me, Ernest, Charlie, and David. I mean, those guys were my like brothers. They were always at my house, or we were always at their house. They would call my mom, and like my mom like treated them like her own sons. Yeah. Which is, I mean, even to this day, you know, like they treat them like their family. Right. And then, you know, my core friends from dental school is like the same way. It's like we can go months on end not seeing each other, but the moment we're back together, it's like we never left. Yeah. You know, like we're still like back in school, or like we're still in the same neighborhoods. Yeah. You know, some of us live in different states and different cities. But I think because of my core group of friends in high school and what, like you said, I gravitated towards is probably how I chose my core group of friends in dental school. Absolutely. And who I still like keep in touch with and stuff. So, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's you become who you hang out with. Absolutely. And like hopefully it's, you know, good people.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I was kind of thinking about this, and this just kind of made me think about it, is I don't know that I ever truly figured out who I was, like through like high school and like college. Boop. Oops. Because I kind of gravitated towards like different groups of people. Yeah. And like I just never found like
your niche.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Did you explore though? Because I explored in high school.
Not in high school.
Oh, okay.
I would say a little bit more in college. Okay. Maybe. Yeah, you know,
How
so I
did
don't
you
know.
explore? Like, what? Give us an example.
I don't know. I just like talk to everybody, you know, or like,
So let's make this a little fun. So obviously there was cliques and niches in high school. I mean, you're only 4 years
so like
younger than me. So there was the jocks, there was the
Yeah.
cheerleaders, there was the emo kids, there was the auto body mechanic kids.
I don't think I ever got like not them, but like our choir was very much, which is like kind of where I kind of just lived.
Yeah.
We had like kind of groups of everybody.
Okay.
So like my core group of like choir friends was made up of a Palms girl who is popular, right? Kind of an athlete, my best friend, like athlete, but she kind of like was in with everybody, you know? So she was kind of an athlete, kind of a choir girl, kind of a nerd, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, so she had like her three little kind of groups too. And then my other friend, I would say, was like more of a nerd, kind of like me, but maybe like a little bit more outgoing. So like she had like kind of that other kind of side of friends and stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, so like that was like my core, but then you had like kind of some emo people in choir, and you know, just like everyone was a little bit different. Like the Palms girl.
That's it.
You know,
no football players.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
We had that in our school.
Yeah. You know, so like, but like there was kind of like different niches.
Yeah.
You know, so like I feel like that's how I got to like Chodos. Yes. Yes. Because of this guy in choir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think high school was the time for most people, at least, to like find out who they were, because everything's happening so quickly in life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through puberty, your emotions are up and down, you're dating people, and then you're just like, holy crap, there's all these different kinds of people.
I feel like I was like so focused on school and getting good grades and like being in the top 10 of my class.
Are you Asian?
Maybe a little bit. That like all the other stuff wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
I put so much pressure on myself to like do well and get good grades and get into college that like having a social life wasn't a thing.
Did you put that pressure on yourself, or did your mom kind of
So my
you?
mom has told me this, and I didn't know this, and that once she started seeing me putting so much pressure on myself because I wanted A's because I thought that's what she wanted me to be, she stopped pushing. And then I just kept doing it myself.
That's awesome.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite. My parents drilled it into my sister in my life that you need to get good grades.
Well, and she did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? But when she saw that like I was too afraid to come home and tell her I got a C on a test, even though I tried really hard, she was like, oh, maybe I'm being a little bit too much. You know, like, because there was no reason to like be afraid to show you a C on a test when I studied and I did my best.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's different when you're just like screwing around.
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know that until like college, that she was like, yeah, Molly, I didn't do that to you. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that. I thought I was still gonna be disappointing her if I wasn't doing well, when in reality I was just disappointing myself.
Yeah. I to piggyback on that, my whole life, and this is probably a stereotype for most Asian families, we had to, only thing you had to focus on was school, getting good grades, being the head of your class, get a good career, or do good so you can get into good college and get a good career and like make your parents proud, right? That's like quintessentially what an Asian family is. Yawn.
No.
That's a yawn, guys. That's 2 already in this podcast.
Yeah, I've done pretty good.
But I think what kind of switched over is that when I went into high school and my parents started seeing I was a little bit more independent because I was driving and I was taking care of myself, but also somewhat getting good grades. I think I started falling off around like junior year when I started taking AP classes, and I was just so busy with band and also yearbook that,
And your girlfriend.
and my girlfriend, that they were just like, okay, like what's going on? Like, you're not supposed to be dating or dating. And I used to hide the fact that I was dating.
Oh my God.
So they didn't really know I had a girlfriend, but I was like hiding it. And so, but I was still getting good grades. Like, I may have dropped in my ranking from school. I think I may have been like top 6. And then I graduated 11th, I think, in my class.
Sad.
Of
I
like
was 9.
700. Oh my gosh. Yeah, how many out of what?
Almost 500.
Okay, yeah.
Not
We had
bad.
200 more people in my class. The ratios are
Oh my God, and I was 2 above you still.
True.
And my grade point average was better than yours.
What was yours?
I think like 4.2.
Okay, I think I was like 4.2. No, mine was higher than that. The highest you could get in our school was 4.7 because of the AP classes.
I think
were
I was
weighted.
2.
Yeah, I was a 4.28 something.
Oh, then I was a 4.3.
Oh my God. Always gonna be better than me.
I might have it upstairs. I'll have to look later.
Oh my gosh.
No, it might only be my college ones. Anywho, sorry.
Anywho. But yeah, like it was, but the cool thing is that looking back at all that, our parents,
Yeah.
whether they did it passively or aggressively like mine, we are in such good positions in life now because of that.
Oh God,
upbringing.
yeah. I mean,
And I'm not saying or diminishing what other parents do
No.
and how their upbringing.
No.
But at least for us
Yes.
in our lives, Jay and Molly, like our families, the way they raised us, put us in good positions right now to have a really good life.
Well, and I think, just the career paths we chose too puts us in a good life. We're always going to have a job, which that bottom line, whatever money we're making, doesn't matter. We're always going to be needed.
And student loans.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those.
Freaking student loans. Just wipe it away, Biden. Just wipe it away, Biden.
Okay, anywho.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have good career paths in just that sense. Like
Yeah.
I can
And I'm
always
grateful
fall
for that,
back
too.
to being, and I don't mean this just a nurse, but just practicing as a nurse instead of as a provider.
Yeah.
Like I'm always going to have a nursing license.
I can fall back and be a dental hygienist.
Wait, I thought you were a dental hygienist.
Oh yeah, I am a dental hygienist.
Oh, okay, cool.
Dental hygienist part-time.
Yes.
Part-time. Actually,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, part-time.
Yeah, part-time.
Yeah, a few days a week.
Few days a week, yeah.
Few days a week.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, and I think, that, to kind of put everything into perspective, we aren't who we are today if it weren't for
Our moms.
our moms, our family, our friends.
No, your dad too. For me, it's just not. It's not dead.
Yeah. Well, my dad tries to be a father
Sounds
figure
so weird
you.
to say that. Like, your dad is amazing. You don't even have to like. Okay, I'm gonna cry today, and I've been trying really hard not to cry. So.
Yeah. So here's a quick story about my dad. So when I took Molly home after we got engaged, my dad and Molly were grabbing something out of the refrigerator in the garage. And what did this man ask my fiance? What did he ask you? Yeah, what did he ask you? And
So
mind you,
he's
this was like
looking-
within a few hours of meeting her.
I think it was
But
24. I'll say 24 hours. I think it was a day.
Was it a day?
I think
I
so.
mean, he just to back up a little bit. My dad, because I'm a little older. I met Molly when I was 32. 32?
Yeah.
33.
32. You were gonna
32.
turn
I was turning 33. So 32. So my dad is always, my parents and my family were just like, when are you freaking getting married? When are you giving us grandkids? Like, and for years after dental school, which I graduated at 28, I think, when I was 20 years old when I graduated, I think, I don't freaking remember. Regardless. Anyways, they're just like, you're 28. You got a good career now. Like, what the hell? Like, find a
Get on
girlfriend
it.
and get on it. Took me, 4 years to meet Molly. And then the moment I told my dad and my parents I was dating somebody or I was talking to somebody, and then they met Molly over FaceTime on Christmas.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe
I
a
talked
little
about
bit. Once before. Once or twice
yeah.
before,
And
yeah.
my parents were freaking ecstatic. They're like, oh, he's dating. You know what this means? Dating turns to marriage, turns to grandbabies. And then so when we go home, like after we got engaged, Molly meets my parents for the first time. So yeah, so
So
they're in the garage.
we're in the garage. It's a family party. but we come in from the garage or whatever we were doing, and he's looking at Michael. There's a bug on the ground.
Where? No, it's a spider.
No, it's not a spider. It's not moving. Do you see it? Yeah, right there. Thank you.
You know that Fear episode?
Yeah.
Freaking bugs, man. That one's dead. You dead.
So we're looking at Michael Ray.
Witch.
Oh my God. Okay, back to the story.
Okay, back to the story.
We're looking at Michael Ray because we're singing Happy Birthday to Auntie Malou, I think. Yeah, it would have been Auntie Malou because that was April.
It was her birthday.
Yes. But Michael Ray was like being sung to as well, or singing, because, you know, he's little. He's like 2 years old at this point.
Was he singing Happy Birthday or I Love You?
I think Happy Birthday.
Happy Birthday, okay.
And your dad goes, when are you going to give me one of those?
And then he proceeded to go up to Michael Ray and hug him.
Yep.
Pick him up and hug him.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is what I could have too. And I was like, my gosh.
Wait, backstory. I literally told Jay, I was like, how long do you think, before we went, how long do you think it's going to take your parents to ask us when we're going to have kids? And he's like, oh, my parents aren't going to ask that. They're nicer than that. And I didn't think it was like a bad thing. I didn't think it was inappropriate. I didn't think it would be, you know, disrespectful at all. And he's like, bah, my parents aren't going to be like that. Literally less than 24 hours.
Less than 24 hours. And
I
he
won.
pops the question.
Yep.
Goodness gracious.
I literally, it was hilarious.
That's funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't, you know, looking back at my childhood, and you can do this too, reflecting back on my childhood, I honestly would not have it any other way. And I know everybody will say that, but I look back at my childhood and my parents never once made us feel poor. Mm-mm. Even though looking back now and just realizing the things that we did and the stuff that we had, we were freaking poor.
Yeah.
But we never felt it. Mm-mm. And I think I commend my parents for shielding that away from us, but making us feel like we had everything.
The world.
The world. Yeah.
I would totally agree.
And I don't know what their financial hardships were, but I know now that it was a hard life in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And when we moved to Vegas, it just got a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. But it was still hard. You know,
yeah.
They were living, I mean, and this is kind of crazy, but when I was emptying out our file cabinet, I saw my FAFSA form for when I was applying to college. And then obviously I had to apply with my parents' like income, right? Looked at their income, like collectively, both of them. And I was like, that's all they made? And then we had like the house, and we had like, I mean, I had my own car. Like they were paying for all of that. I wasn't paying for jack in high school. I was kind of spoiled, but I didn't have a job until I graduated high school, and then they paid for everything. And I was like, and we did all that on this? I was like, holy crap. Like my parents are freaking awesome, because we never felt any ounce of poorness, which is kind of weird to say. Like, I don't want to sound like we're entitled or anything.
No, I think you're just saying, you know, and not even that your parents were poor, but, you know, we're living on an income that we don't live on.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate, you know, and so like seeing that they were able, and including my mom, were able to provide us with so much. And like I said, we never wanted, but we always had, you know, whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
You know, like we might have wanted stuff, but then we got it. You know what I mean? Like constantly. So we never felt that burden. We never felt like we weren't, you know, didn't have money, because we had everything we wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, you know, even though our parents were living on a strict budget,
they still made enough to like make us happy.
Yes.
But it wasn't like our parents spoiled us, you know what I mean? Like it was within reason. And if it was something that it was too expensive, obviously I do remember like, no, we can't afford that.
Absolutely.
Or no, like no.
Not right now,
not
or
right
whatever.
Now. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Sure. Yes. Yeah. Or it was maybe not the name brand thing, but you know, the knockoff, but like we didn't know it was the knockoff then, or you know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, like when we were really little, you know, like We didn't know the difference.
Yeah, Payless Shoe when I was living in Hawaii, Payless Shoe we would go to Payless Shoes all the time. I did. Yeah. And then I used to wear Walmart clothes. And I thought Walmart clothes was the shiz.
The shiz.
Like, this was some nice.
I thought the Walmart clothes was the shiz up until probably I graduated college.
Yeah? Really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I wouldn't say the shiz, but I would say, like, I would have shopped at Walmart. And now I go into Walmart and I'm like, the hell is this stuff?
Snooty. Yeah, because you become a target.
Yes.
We become target people.
Yes. I think it's more the quality. It's really not bad clothes. It's like it more so like like I know like if I dry it, it's not gonna be the same.
We couldn't afford to go to Target growing up. The Target
we never
right by our house.
Yeah,
no,
same.
we drove extra miles
to go to Walmart.
Mm-hmm. And like I remember, Walmart was our jam. When my mom was like, "Okay, we're going to Walmart," I was like, "Yes."
Walmart is still your parents' jam, and I love it
because they love Walmart.
They went to Walmart when they were visiting us, and I think they spent like 2 hours there.
Yeah, they just have fun at Walmart.
Yes,
yeah,
it's adorable.
Well, I mean, it's if you think about it, like it's almost smart because they don't have to go spend too much money. For the simple things.
Well, and now that it has food, like you one-stop shop, you know, we used to not be like that. It was just clothes.
It was just clothes and like housewares
stuff
and pharmacy stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Now there's
food.
Yeah.
A lot of food.
Groceries.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing either. You know, some other stuff is okay.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think who we are today, most certainly we give credit to our family and our friends and our 3.
Shoot.
But I think what helps me understand you is hearing like this history with your family because it almost parallels mine.
Yeah.
So I can understand where you and your mom were as, you know, as a single parent household and growing up like that because it almost mirrors and helps me appreciate where I came from too, because it was almost the same.
Right.
I think that's the crazy thing whenever we talk about our past or just like who we are. I'm like, babe, our lives are pretty much the same.
I know, it's
like,
weird.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like,
and
so
I think
weird.
What's weird for you for that is that you were so afraid like your culture was going to make us so different.
Yeah.
And we're not different at all.
Well,
I mean, we have our differences, obviously, but like just our upbringing was so similar.
Well, and I think that's the thing too. And we can touch this on a different episode, but about interracial marriage, because when I met Molly, I was like, man, like white people and Asian people, like different cultures, like how is she gonna like my family? How is she like? Do I need to tell them to be more white so she likes them? Oh
my gosh!
I mean, all these things I just like think about. I was like, okay, how are we gonna mesh these cultures? So that's why I introduced Molly to Filipino food, meat on the street, rest in peace. And she liked it, so I was like, oh frick! So I started like teaching her a little bit about the Filipino culture, and so when it came to like meeting my family and like realizing, I was like, oh frick, I forgot to prep her for my family who are loud. And when they get together, they just like to just talk over each other. They're loud, they laugh, they are just rambunctious people. And then come to find out your family's just the same
way.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, like this is gonna be easy, you know? And I think, and I actually side note, I had a conversation with a patient of mine and she asked me like how I met you or something. And she asked me, she was like, so how's your 1 year been? And I was like, if I could sum it up into one word, I would say dating, engagement, and marriage with my wife is easy. Mm-hmm. Like it's easy in the sense of we haven't had too much turmoil, nor was it hard to love you because everything just kind of fell into place and it was easy. You know, it wasn't what I would have anticipated marriage or even just dating.
Yeah.
Like trying to mesh together 2 lifestyles to make one. It was just easy, you know? So
isn't that like a saying, like you know, you have to put in the work, but it shouldn't be work.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think that they said that about your career. Like, if you love what you do,
but that's
you'll never
like in a
work a day in your
relationship
life.
too. You know, like you have to put in the work to make a relationship work. You know, like absolutely. Like it's not, and we've done that, but it shouldn't be work. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be a separate thing that you have to go home and do.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I guess, and piggybacking off of that, if it is work, to not make it feel like work.
Right. Like then there's a problem. There's communication that needs to happen.
Jing, show me boba. Maybe that's what you need to get me tomorrow is boba. Yeah. I love boba. So yeah, I like this conversation. This was a good one.
Yeah. I think we should probably delve into my growing up a little bit more.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
I think that would be a good episode.
You know what kind of episode we should do? Me interviewing you as someone on the outside.
Oh.
And you interviewing me as someone on the outside. That'd be cool. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's 2 episodes there.
That's 2 episodes.
Plus the one we have to make about our sex life.
Yes.
Baby. All right, guys. I just wanted to kind of look at the camera and shout out my mom. I love you. I know you probably don't listen to our podcasts, but I want
my
the world
mom does,
to
so she's the best. And we're just gonna. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Mom, I love you. Thank you so much for being the mom that you are, for being a fighter, for showing that life is more than just your own self and that, you know, you have enough love to spread to others. Thank you so much for being there for my sister and I, and for Dad and for our family. Life kind of dealt you a pretty tough, hand a few times there, but I'm very grateful for your courage and for your strength to get through those tough times. And I love you. Happy Mother's Day. To my wife, I love you. Thank you so much for being an amazing mom to Conrad and to any future kids that we have. Your patience with Conrad and with me is admirable. Yeah. So thank you for being an amazing mom.
Thanks, babe.
And then thank you to my mother-in-law for raising such an amazing woman and for the example you've shown to her in her childhood and to this day. And thank you for accepting me into the family.
Okay, and what am I supposed to say after all that?
I don't know, whatever you want.
Geez, man. Now anything I say is going to be like... Well, I was going to piggyback off of you. I thought you were only going to thank your mom, and then I would thank my mom and stuff. But you just kind of kept going. So, I mean, I was going to say the same thing that you just said about my mom. Thanks to your mom for, raising a great son and stuff. But now it just sounds like I'm copying you.
Well, think of something else.
But you stole my idea.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad I came up with it first.
No, seriously. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I know you're listening to this, and then you'll come over and you'll be like, "Hey, Molly, I never knew that." It'll be funny because she'll do that now. But no, thank you for being a great mom and raising me to be a great mom as well. I couldn't have done the ups and downs with life without you. You've been my rock, and okay, I'm not going to get all sappy, but I love you, and I'm going to cry in a second here, so we're just going to wrap that up. And then, of course, thank you to Jay's mom, because I don't know where I would be in life without finding him. And I know I've said this story before, but the love you have for your mom is the huge reason I fell in love with you. So I'm glad that she was the person she was growing, with you growing up, and just, teaching you to be a mama's boy, because that's important. And I hope we can, kind of give that to Conrad one day and not be embarrassed to love his mommy.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, moms.
Thanks, moms. And thanks to all the other moms who have been mother figures to us. You know, our aunts, our grandmas, our friends' moms who took care of us in the neighborhood. And for those who supported us, happy Mother's Day to you. And this weekend is your weekend. So hopefully your loved ones are spoiling you and wishing you happy Mother's Day because, you know, it's not just one weekend that we're grateful. You know, we should always be grateful and showing our thankfulness and love to our mothers and those mother figures in our lives.
Yeah.
So though this is a
designated weekend
and a commercialized weekend, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And next up, Father's Day.
Oh my god, I gotta check when that day is.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. Smash that like button. And click subscribe. You know, we have, I think it's like
10 followers.
Like 10% of those who listen to this podcast are subscribed. So those other 90%, like, hit that subscribe button so you get the notifications of our podcast premieres on Saturdays at 8. So who knows? Maybe we might just drop one in the middle of the week and you won't even know. So smash that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe our podcast because we appreciate it. And we are trying to get famous. So
I was going to say we can't make money until we get some likes.
We can't get famous if you don't like our podcast. But hope you enjoyed this episode. Go spend some time with your families and
hug your mama.
Yeah, hug your mamas. Hug your mamas. I was going to sing a song. The song I danced with my mom at my wedding. Mama.
I was actually going to sing a different song that time.
You know I love you.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say. Or not. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Peace. Love you. This is the Unscripted Conversations Podcast. My name is Jay.
And I'm Molly.
Have a good night. Wherever you are, we're there with you. Peace. Peace.
I guess that's the segue into our sex podcast.
No, that's the outro. I did that last podcast and I left it in. There's someone. Yeah, you were like this, and I was like, you're like.